All right. Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone that's tuning in. Welcome to our 7th episode of Divesoft Gear Talks Live. Hope everyone's doing good today. We've got a good show for you guys today. We're going to be talking about the Divesoft Liberty mouthpieces that we offer. We do kind of offer two basic types of mouthpieces: the dive surface valve and the bailout valve. We'll be, getting into those today. So make sure that you like and you share this video to everybody so everyone can see it. And just like always, I've got Matt in the background. He's going to be answering some of your questions in the comments, and then he'll throw some of these questions up live on my screen so I can see them, and then I'll be able to answer them as we're going. But yeah, so it's going to be a fun, cool day today, and I'll take. All right. So to get started, the first piece that we have is the dive surface valve. So you can see here I have a couple of different loops. It's got kind of a range of what we offer, and I'll be bouncing back and forth between this main camera and then my close-up camera right here. So the first thing I'm going to do is we'll jump into the dive surface valve here. This is the main dive surface valve that we offer. I'm going to clean up a little bit, move all the ducks out of the way. This is the main dive surface valve. You can see that it's pretty small, pretty streamlined. I have two mushroom valves. Now the way that our unit is set up, we have let's start with the mouthpiece. So this is a Divex mouthpiece manufactured in Sweden. I have one right here. In my opinion, they're a pretty rigid mouthpiece, but they're good. They're robust. The Divesoft mouthpiece can offer a, it's because I've tried alternative mouthpieces for this because I'm a big fan of the old pallet mouthpiece, but I did have some issues kind of with the sizing of it. So it's a little bit narrow, but the Divex mouthpiece is a very good mouthpiece. It's real hard, real rigid. I'm usually pretty bad about chewing through mouthpieces, and I don't think I've chewed through one yet, and I've had my unit for about 4 years now. So yes, we have these Divex mouthpieces, and we sell them on our webpage. So if you need a replacement mouthpiece, take a look. All right, yes. And then, so I definitely kind of want to take apart some of the gear so you guys can see what it's, what makes it work, right? We have our baskets. This is our mushroom valves, or some folks call them the flapper valves. These are the fundamental components of the dive surface valve or of the rebreather mouthpiece as they control the directional flow of the gas. We always want to check and make sure that they're in good shape. They're not changing colors on us. That's part of our one-way flow check. We want to make sure that they're properly functioning. You can also see here in this little basket, we have it lubricated with our Krytox lube. We use Krytox lubrication throughout the entire unit because it's a great lubricant. It's oxygen clean, and because it's a high oxygen environment, it's very, very important to be using the proper lubrication. But yes, and we have the two baskets. So if you use a rebreather that has a different directional flow, you can change the flow. So it's very important to make sure that you have them installed the proper way. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take apart this dive surface valve so you guys can kind of see it. So it's a pretty streamlined system. This is the closed. I don't know if you guys can see. In this position is closed, and when the stem is down, and then when the stem is up, it's in the open. It's open in turn, but it's in the closed circuit position, and then it's sealed off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys just the different how kind of the system works. And it's very simple. There we go. I unscrew that piece there. Trying to make sure that I'm centered on the camera. Grab the other one. So we have these two circle clips in here. So our first generation, sometimes that these had some issues with a little bit of marking and corrosions. They weren't cleaned properly. So we have these circle clips now that they're stainless. As long as you're cleaning and taking good care of it, they should not corrode. They shouldn't have any issues. But it's always good to have a very good to always inspect that and keep a close eye. And then, so it's the two circle clips here. And then I slide this out. Now, this is the internal barrel. You can see it's very simple, but it's in good shape. You know, the typical diver shouldn't be taking this apart. There's really no need that you should be taking it apart. You know, as a technician, I take it apart and I make sure that it's lubricated properly. You can see that it's pretty dry. I like to keep mine pretty well lubricated to make sure it has very good range of motion. Some divers like to have a good amount of force that they can push against and open and close the dive surface valve. Me, I like to have good play. I like it to be properly lubricated very well. And you can see our dive surface valve is very low profile, very small. We have a range of, you know, the nipples that go on. So for different units, the same thing with our bailout valve. You can use our bailout valve or our dive surface valve for a variety of different rebreathers. If you're curious which rebreather specifically, you need to go onto our website, divesoft.com. And on our website, you can go through our mouthpiece configurator, and there you can build the unit to the way that you would like it. All right, so that's our DSV. And then, so our DSV, go back to the zoomed in camera. So if you guys remember last week, I was talking about the side mount unit. Here we have our DSV with the right angle nipples. And so then that go straight into the manual add valves. These are the right angle elbows. So we use our DSV for the side mount unit and for the back mount unit. Now, I've had some people ask me, can I use the dive surface valve with the back mount counterlungs? So, or if I want to have my manual add valves here at my mouth like I do in side mount. And the answer is yes. Now, our DSV, make sure I don't knock anything down. Now, don't mind the clocking. I have the clocking off. But our DSV can have our manual add valves added to the loop, so you can have it like in back mount counterlungs. It's a very clean, low profile look. It's very simple, very straightforward. But our MAVs are designed to be able to work with any of these teeth patterns. So with it, whether it be the BOV, the DSV, the MAVs will be able to go on. And so you can see I don't have the right angle elbows for the side mount. I have it just going straight out for the back mount counterlungs. So it's a really clean and low profile look. I have not used it personally myself. What I use is I use my bailout valve, and I have the MAVs on my bailout valve. So, but it looks good, at least from here. Maybe I should dive it and take a try, take a dive with it and see how if I like it. Right. So now, stand on this zoomed in camera, I have my bailout valve. Now our bailout valve comes in two versions. We have the BOV without the ADV. So a kind of a good indicator if it has the ADV or not is if you have a button located here on the barrel. Or here on this BOV, I have a push. It's getting a little crowded. So in this BOV, I have a push button, and I also have a knob extension. This is an additional piece that goes onto the unit. You can see it's this knob extension piece. And so this is a barrel. We'll go through this in a moment, but the barrel just goes right on top and it screws in. But this is our so this is my personal unit. You can see why it's all scratched up and dirty and gross. The BOV with the manual add valves, and like I like to have it, I have it lubed up pretty well. I always want to be able to actuate it with 2 fingers. That's kind of the frame that I like to have with how easy it is. I can swivel the barrel. Now our bailout valve, our second stage, it's an Apex XT. We have the XT in here. So I'll go ahead and take that apart so you guys can take a look. So whenever you purchase the BOV, or when it comes with our Liberty components, you have this BOV Multitool that comes in. It's a really cool little tool that helps with removing equipment, with kind of working with the different Divesoft components. So it's a fairly typical Apex second stage in here. So Divesoft wanted to make sure that we used kind of the best second stage and a very high performance regulator. But you can use it in either direction. It's very easy to change the hose feed direction on either side, if you run it from the left or if you run it from the right. So I have it fed from my left side on my unit with the manual add valves. But before, when I had it on the front mount counterlungs, I had it actually fed from the right side because I was offboarding my gas. So, but it is kind of like, you know, the diver, it's up to the diver's preference. So make sure that I get that in the right way. It's a lot of fun doing this kind of stuff on camera. You got to make sure you get it right the first time. So the way that we take apart the way that our barrel looks inside, you know, we have these screws on this outer ring. Once you undo the screws, you remove that hex key, and then the barrel looks like this. So you see I have 2 barrels here. One of them has a push button. The other one does not have a button. And you even see that the O-rings are different colors. You can see that they're different colors. What does that mean? So that means that these black O-rings are just rubber O-rings, and these red O-rings are new O-rings. They're new silicone O-rings. They have really great movement in the barrel of the BOV. So I'm a big fan of these silicone O-rings. They feel fantastic when you're moving the knob, because sometimes it can be a little bit rigid. Hence, that's why we have this knob extension. This knob extension helps with that rigidity. So what this component is, what this button is, this is the automatic diluent valve that's in the BOV. So you can have the BOV in 2 options. You can have the BOV with the ADV, so the automatic diluent valve, or you can have it without the automatic diluent valve. And the option for that is you either have a membrane T-piece, membrane ADV T-piece, or you have the lever ADV, which I showed you guys that in the other video with the front mount counterlungs. So make sure that this isn't in the way. We're going to fall down. So this ATV, what it is, it's inside the barrel. You can see here, there's a lot of O-rings. So because there's so many moving parts, you have to make sure that each O-ring is fit the right way, that it's lubricated, and that it's has no scuffs or anything of the sort. So to make sure that there's no leaks in the system. Now, our ATV here, there's a diaphragm inside the barrel. Without the ATV, I don't know if you guys can see, but you can see that there's no membrane. Sorry, there's no diaphragm inside the barrel. So I'm a big fan of my ATV on the T-piece. I don't really necessarily like having the ATV in the mouthpiece. Some folks like it. Sometimes if you're using different units that have kind of an ATV that you can't shut off, some divers like to have it in the BOV themselves. Sorry, there's a lot of acronyms that I'm throwing around. I'm making sure that I'm saying everything the right way. We have our membrane here. It does have a screw on it. You can adjust it, but you can't adjust it very much. Some folks like to open it up all the way. And when you open it up all the way so that it's sensitive, or if you close it down so that it's not as sensitive, it doesn't activate on every breath, you risk over tightening it or, adding issues. I like to tighten it all the way, and then I'll back it off a little bit just so that it has a little bit of play. I don't think that you can really see on camera, but you can see there's a spring in here. This is a spring that puts tension against the membrane. The diaphragm of the ATV. These things are a lot of fun to work on. You have an O-ring on the inside of the barrel wall. That's between the diaphragm and the barrel wall. There's an O-ring in there, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 O-rings on the entire barrel. So, and what the reason for all of these are the different orientations that the BOV is in, so that you're getting the appropriate gas from the right source. So, an example here. So right now, the position that I have the unit in, it's in a closed circuit mode. It's in an open circuit mode with the gas feeding from the bailout valve. Now, if I have it in this orientation, I'm breathing directly from the loop. And then when I push the button, and then that allows me to rotate past, now the loop is closed. I'm breathing from the bailout valve feed, and it's also the ATV is also being fed from here. So then when I'm in this position, so when the button is at the 9 o'clock position, the ATV will fire, and it will also, and I'm also breathing on the loop. So this is the optimum position as you're descending. So button at the 9 o'clock, and then I can push the button again, and it'll rotate back, and now I'm at where I started with the button at the 12 o'clock position. This is in the loop is closed, and I'm breathing on open circuit. So bailout valve, why would you have a bailout valve over a nice and pretty DSV? You can see there's quite a big size difference. This thing's bulky, it's big, it's more components. So the reason why that I always dive with the bailout valve, if I can, is because the bailout, I prefer to have kind of that quick motion to be able to go to open circuit. Now, unless you offboard your gas, you still have to get off of the loop and switch to a different second stage regulator. Excuse me. So there's a lot of different argument. You'll see online on different forums all the different arguments of bailout valve versus DSV. You know, it's kind of your level of preference. Now, if you offboard your gas and you bail out, you know, say you have a high CO2 hit, you have hypercapnia, hypoxia, hyperoxia, and you go to open circuit, you bail out, and even if you're offboarding your gas, it's still pretty likely that you're going to have to take the loop out of your mouth. Now, the good thing is that you're able to switch to open circuit very quickly. You can see it's just, if I have any problems, if I have any doubt, boom, you're on open circuit. And then you're kind of able to reassess and be able to move which direction you want to go to. You know, do I need to go, am I going to go back on the loop? Am I going to go to a different gas source? Am I going to exit the dive or end the dive? Typically, if you're bailing out, it's time to go. You know, it's better to keep it simple and not even argue. I just kind of have it. If I have to bail out, that means I'm having a problem. I'm going to end the dive, and we're going to do the dive another day. So it's you know, you see kind of a little bit of a philosophical argument into bailout valves versus DSVs. Now, folks like the simple dive surface valve. They're nice and streamlined, nice and small. They're able to have this DSV, and they close the loop. Then they go to a second stage regulator that's right underneath their neck. It's nice and quick, and then they're able to exit their dive. Now, there's also been arguments, if you get a caustic, can you have the mouthpiece in? You know, probably not, because there's going to be caustic material inside the mouthpiece, and you're going to have to go to another second stage anyways. But the fundamental argument for a bailout valve is that you can jump quickly to open circuit, even faster, no matter what. No matter how fast you are with a dive surface valve, a bailout valve will always be faster to open circuit gas. But you do have to assess whether you stay on that mouthpiece or whether you get off of it quickly because you're breathing from a 3-liter bottle, or if you're offboarding your gas. So, yeah, a little bit of a kind of a rant on that. So we have back to our ATV barrel, right? And then we have our kind of more simple BOV barrel without the ATV. Now, if you have a BOV without an ATV, you can upgrade the barrel. It's very easy upgrade. We just swap the barrels out for you, and voila, now you have an ATV in your mouthpiece. So, all right. Now, a couple of different tools and kind of add-ons that we have here that I wanted to show everyone. So this tool is another tool that we have that Divesoft offers. That it's very handy for removing these pieces. It's kind of like a jig. Same thing with this, our BOV Multitool. You can see that it has even a piece. Oh, it's kind of hard to see on camera, but it has a piece on the side that if you need to make adjustments here to control the flow of the second stage. And then now on our heads-up display, we offer kind of a variety. Here we go. I got to make sure I get it out the right way. So if you dive with a nerd, we have an adapter that goes in. We kind of use our rail system. So this, if you use a shearwater nerd, this is a tool and a bracket with different orientations for whichever side that you want. But we have this bracket here for a shearwater nerd. It can go on the DSV and it can go on the BOV as well. This rail system is really handy. It's kind of a universal. Makes it nice and easy. And we also offer HUD extensions. So if you want to extend the rail, It's nice and easy. And then we have an offset railing. So if you want it more to your right, this piece screws on. And so it's another holder for a heads-up display. If you're using this with an Optima or a JJ, it's got a different size heads-up display, and it's got it's a good holder for that. Make sure kind of move things around. Last week I also showed you guys the different rings that we have. These are the different clamping rings for the DSVs and the BOVs. This is kind of our original one. We don't really use these too much, but I think it's just kind of cool for you guys to take a look at. Pretty hard to take on and off, but it's also hard to be accidentally removed. And then this is the second generation of the loops. So you can see where these loops go if you do not have a Divesoft BOV. I'll show you guys right here. So you can see here I have the kind of the second generation of loops of retaining rings. You can see it's very nice and clean in the front, and I have them set to where they're kind of on facing on my side. It doesn't get in the way, it doesn't bother me, it doesn't get entangled on anything. I don't have anything hanging from my face, but it's still nice and clean, and then it's easy to remove, and I can remove it quickly in order to check my mushroom valves before my day of diving. We also offer this double hose combination piece. It's a dual feed adapter. So what this dual feed adapter does, if you have the manual add valves, it basically I only need to have one hose feed, one diluent hose feed. It's the same as my diluent as my bailout. Now, depending on your gas management or your gas strategy, you may have to have a separate gas that you want to bail out from that you would do your diluent. But that's up to you. It's kind of the way your strategy for diving in that. Single hose adapter. There you go. All right. So, what we have gone over today, please excuse the mess. We have our dive surface valve right here in the front. This is our side mount unit, or this is kind of the configured for the side mount. Breather in order to use our Divesoft mouthpieces. Oh, did we lose audio? Whoops. All right, we're back. So I went over our dive surface valve and I went over our bailout valve. All right. Hopefully I was able to answer some of your questions that you guys have. If you go to divesoft.com, we have our configurator, we have our manuals online, and so always good to read up on those if you're kind of thinking if you want to add a BOV to your rebreather. We also, the BOV will work for a variety of different rebreathers. So just because if you have a Revo or a Meg or a JJ, you think you can't get a Divesoft BOV, you can. So go online, check it out, and see that if it'll work for your unit. And then don't forget to tune in on Thursday. We have our Divesoft Dive Talks live. My guest this week is Dr. Sonia Rowley. She's a diving scientist. She uses the Liberty rebreather for her research. So it'll be a really interesting discussion on Thursday. So remember, tune in 1 p.m. Eastern. And yeah, thank you very much for tuning in this week. We'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.